Welcome to another episode of the King's Couch podcast show. I'm your host, Sulo King, and today, via Zoom, I have the lovely and talented Esjay Jones. She's a record producer and a multi-talented musician. I've known her for quite some time, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. How are you, Esjay?
Hi, Sulo. I'm so happy to be on the King's Couch today. I miss you, man.
I miss you too. So Esjay and I haven't seen each other, we just realized, in about, 10, 11 years, something like that. She moved, what was it, Palm Desert, or is it LA first?
Yeah, moved to LA in like 2010-ish, I guess, somewhere around there. And then moved to Palm Springs and then bought a place out in Yucca Valley, which is just on the border of Joshua Tree. So bought a house out here about 3 years ago now. I can't remember when last I was in San Diego. I need to come visit you guys.
Yeah, we were just discussing that before we started the interview. And of course, we miss you and we'd love to have you back out here. So like every guest I have on the show, I like to go to the beginning. Ooh. The origin story is what everyone really wants to hear. How you got into music, what influenced you to be a musician and be the woman that you are today?
I think probably my most vivid formative memory has to be sitting around the piano with my grandmother. I was probably around, I don't know, I had to be about 5 years old. And that for me just really cemented music in my path. Sitting around the piano, singing hymns with my grandmother. And then from there, I was really involved in the church growing up. So I pretty much learned everything I know from the church, unfortunately, but I'm very grateful for the education that I got through learning how to play the drums and the bass and the keyboards and the guitar, So that's pretty much where it all began.
Where was that exactly?
South Africa. I was born in Durban, which is on the east coast of South Africa, but it has like a west coast feel. It kind of feels like California. And I was in South Africa for 27 years, and then moved out here, and we met just pretty much that same month or two that I moved out to San Diego.
So it's an interesting story of how I met Esjay. Back in those days, I can't even remember exactly what year it was, but I was running a nightclub called Brick by Brick. I was in charge of all the talent buying and booking. And I booked an artist named Delana, who was a runner-up on the reality show Rockstar Supernova. And I remember Delana telling me, there's this South African artist named Esjay Jones. She's got this band called, what was it, Stealing Love Jones? Yeah, that's right. And she's like, do you mind if I book her? She just moved here. And I was like, oh, I've never heard of her. Yeah, sure. I'm all about it. And I remember seeing you play that first night. I was just absolutely blown away. And that just cemented everything for our relationship. Wow. As far as me booking you and then getting to know you and just see how like colorful and lovable you are. And I remember that Kitty show that I booked, and you had told me how much Kitty had meant to you. And I don't know if you remember, but Kitty is the reason how I even got into the music industry myself. I went to go see them at age 20 in the year 2000 at this venue, Kane's Bar and Grill, and met a bouncer. And you know me, I'm a social bee. He's like, oh, you seem like a cool guy. Let me get you a job here. I was like, just like that? He's like, just like that. And that, propelled me to being a security guard at age 20 to 2 years later running Brick by Brick, which was a huge deal because nobody in my age bracket had just really succeeded that kind of level of, authority or whatever you want to call it in the music business here in San Diego. And it was hard. I was more of a punk rock kid back then and just kind of being ridiculed and looked down upon by all these OGs. And I had the raddest mentor in the world. His name was Big Vinny. I don't know if you remember him. He was the sound guy at Brick by Brick. Mm-hmm. And it was just a an amazing time, part of my life, and having guests on this show from those days is just one of my favorite things. And anyways, you're taking me down memory lane again.
No, and it's so awesome. The Kitty connection has just absolutely blown my mind, because it's like I have such a terrible memory, and I now vividly remember that. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I set up that interview with Morgan in my office, and you called some radio show in South Africa.
Holy shit. I can't believe it. So like, I'm like, oh my gosh, Morgan and I have actually met.
Yeah. And then you told her right in front of me.
Dude, that's insane. Like, it's gonna absolutely blow Morgan's mind. I cannot remember.
I can't believe you forgot that. That was such a huge moment for you. I remember you telling me the second I booked Kitty, you told me that whole story. You're like, oh my God. And then I looked at you and I was like, you're never gonna believe this then. This Kitty's the reason why I'm here today. I went to go see that show.
My mind is so blown right now, because that like, this is how bad my memory is, and I completely blame a misspent childhood full of drugs. But it's like, honestly, like, I do not remember that like at all until you've just said that. And I cannot believe like that Morgan and I have met, and I didn't remember that, and that We Are Pigs did a song with Morgan.
Oh, no shit.
Have you not heard it?
No, I haven't heard it yet.
Oh my gosh, it was like the second single that we released was with Morgan. Like,
maybe I did and not realize that she was on that track, because I've listened to what you have on Spotify.
Yeah, the song is called Moot, and we wrote it together over the pandemic. I literally just like reached out to her out of the blue, and I was just like, I'm doing this project, this is who I am, like, would you like to collaborate on a song? And she was just like, sure, why not? And my mind is blown that we've actually met. What a freaking dork am I? Oh my gosh.
So shout out to Morgan Lander if she ever watches this.
Oh my gosh, Morgan,
thank you for connecting us.
I'm gonna send this link to Morgan, and she's gonna be like, oh my gosh, you are just like next level.
Yeah.
Did we get any photos or anything that night? It's like, it was before cell phones, so it's like
that was before the cell phone, texting each other pictures and became a thing.
I'm too glad that we didn't have.
There might be some floating out there somewhere, who knows? But I'll never forget that night. I have a weird memory, like photographic memory about things like that. So that's like how my mind operates when I write a song, is like I visualize a story in my head when I'm writing down my thoughts or something like that. And very impactful moments like that one are things that really resonated with me. And it was really cool to have that kind of connection with you, with that band, and bring Kitty back. Because when I first met them, they played a couple times at King's. And that's when they were like first starting to really blow up. And then I think it was like 2006, 2007, when I booked them there, that show I was just talking about.
It has to have been around 2009.
Maybe it was later. She tripped out because I had an old picture of me and like Talina and Fallon that were no longer in the band. And
right.
And she was just like, I could tell it was kind of bothering her a little bit. I was just like, well, I know there's tension between you guys because I could read body language pretty well. And she's like, well, you don't really know my side of the story. And I was like, well, it's not my business anyways. But I know how being in a band is.
Man, being in a band is like more complicated than being in a relationship. Like, it's just the emotions and the level, and oh man, what a thing.
Like being married to however many people are in your band and managing all these separate lives and schedules and relationships. Actually, why don't we talk a little bit about that? That's pretty good subject content right now.
Band members?
Yeah, or just being an artist and just the struggle,
Oh, man, it's coming from South Africa to the States. I mean, first of all, the US has just been so like open. Arms have been just like wide open to me, which has been amazing. And but has this path been easy? Absolutely not. I think you know what it's like when you're an artist. It's like, just having a real job just doesn't feel good. You live and breathe your art, and it's kind of, I mean, even to this day, I have like 4 jobs in order to be able to do music full time. It's like, right. It's exhausting. And it's a 24-hour round the clock kind of thing in order to pay for what you love. I mean, just like the We Are Pigs project, which is like my passion project. Every cent that I make goes back into the We Are Pigs project. You know how it goes. That's how we do as artists. And it's like, it's just like breathing. There's no other way. It's like, it's just, life does not exist without this creation. It's just not worth existing without this creation.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and especially when the pandemic hit and we couldn't play shows anymore. I just celebrated my 40th birthday. Wow. I did this rad dual birthday party I was turning 40, my buddy, he was turning 50, and we just went out with a bang. And then all of a sudden, a few weeks later, everything was shut down. And then I had a friend pass away, and the last show he came out to was my show before his benefit. Wow. And it's just all these like thoughts and things were just like running through my brain. And I lost one of my businesses. I was already mourning basically like the death of my studio is what it felt like. Yeah. So it was a whole lot to process. And I wrote a lot of music during that time, and keeping the band together was the hardest thing because our drummer quit about the same time the pandemic shut everything down back in March of last year. Yeah. And, there's an inside joke with how many drummers, band members we've had here. It's like Spinal Tap.
Oh, are you kidding? Yeah. Spot on.
But we picked up, right when the band was about to fall apart, I was like, look, I'll just put one post up. I'll find another musician. You guys relax. Everyone's freaking out right now, and we'll be okay. And I'm not going to get rid of our rehearsal space. We have roommates sharing that cost. So don't worry about it. I got it. That's how my attitude's always been in this industry. People are like, how come you don't panic? How come you don't freak out? And I go back to I usually use the Bodhi line from Point Break. Fear causes hesitation. And, when we start to hesitate, brings out our worst fears. And it's just like, that's just kind of how I am. Like you're not going to have any resolve when you start freaking out and panicking. You've got to problem solve,
I agree, man.
Yeah. But anyways, my whole point was, it's just like, it was tough, like we're having to do these live stream concerts, and a lot of them are just what we're doing right now, sitting here in our bedrooms. And we did one live stream show, like we were late in the game too. It was like October last year, and it crashed halfway through our set. And all these people on Twitch turned on us real quick. And we're a punk band, we're used to that kind of thing. But wow, I was like, this sucks. Yeah. I don't want to do this ever again. It just does not feel right. I'll duke it out and wait it out, or figure out another way to perform or do something. So we started up a vlog, kind of reality-based show called Sellout TV, all about like, different adventures, or things that we do. Like I did a kind of like Toys for Tots. It's called Chips. It's CHP's version of Toys for Tots. Yeah. So we started up a GoFundMe, and then me and my ex-drummer, who proposed the idea to me, and went to Target and filled up a cart of toys and dropped it off, at the donation site. It was really gratifying to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, this whole show, speaking of being selfless, was actually motivated by a friend of mine, George Jimenez, who has been on this show. He gave me the whole purpose for it, that everyone's got a story to tell, never judge a book by its cover. And, I just want my guests to like empower others, inspire others by their stories. And that's what he did. He had a heart transplant this year on my birthday, which blew my mind. And as a spiritual person, I took that as a sign to reach out to him. I was like, It's the first year I didn't do anything for my birthday. And I always kind of subconsciously had that thought in my mind. I was like, man, George's going to be okay. Is he going to be okay? And he was always more of an acquaintance that I knew from the Brick by Brick days.
Yeah.
So I reached out to him, invited him out to lunch, and he started telling me a story. And he's an motivational speaker for at-risk youth. And I started tearing up. I was like, damn, dude, I got to record this. You have to share this. This can help people, and we did. And the next thing you know, started up a GoFundMe, and now George and I are doing all these things to help him raise money. And it just feels like, I can't explain like how good it feels to help others in that capacity.
That's awesome, man.
Especially doing what I do now as a health coach,
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I just did this song for We Are Pigs with Head from Korn, and we basically the song or proceeds from the song are going to two different nonprofits. One is an organization called the Whosoevers, which is like a Christian organization, and like the POD guys are behind it. And
Marcos, he told me about that. That's right.
So I mean, even though I consider myself a spiritual person too. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a Christian in any way, shape, or form, but giving to these nonprofits that have like a purpose behind it, a purpose for the youth, because the song Kids that I wrote with Head was inspired by that movie Euphoria, that HBO show Euphoria. I don't know if you've watched it, with the actress in there. It's like probably the most like petrifying, mind-blowing thing I've ever seen in my life, that kids are growing up like this, but just talking about social media earlier, of not having phones and being able to send pictures. Like social media has become some source of like finance between kids and photographs, and it was really heartbreaking to me to see that. So he wrote this song called Kids, which I'd love for you guys to check out, and so proceeds of that are going to the Whosoevers, which is just empowering youth. And then also another organization called We Are Moving the Needle, which is empowering women in music, because there's not a lot of support for girls in the music industry. If you think about it, like people usually put guitars into like boys' hands, and they put a doll into girls' hands, so it's kind of there hasn't been throughout society, there's not like a lot of support. So it's nice to see organizations actually rallying behind giving women, like setting them up with like some recording gear, to figure it out, and like paying for girls to go to audio engineering school, and just setting things a little bit straight. I think the statistics are something like there's 2% of the recording industry are women, which is insane. It's crazy for me to think that I am one of those 2%, and like it's crazy.
To be 100% honest with you, I don't know any female engineers other than audio engineers for events and shows. Like recording engineers, I can't think of one besides you. And when I found out what you were doing, I was just like, yes, I always knew she had it.
I mean, it's kind of like, the hustle, dude. It's sort of like fake it till you make it, like that's been the vibe. It's like, well, what do I have to do in order to get to like this next level in my career? Like I can learn how to do this really fast. So you go down the YouTube rabbit hole and figure out how to produce and figure out how to engineer, and just like look over people's shoulders and ask the questions. And it really is like nobody has an excuse now not to be whatever they want to be. Like I just feel like opportunity is at your fingertips, and you can go out and get it if you're willing to work hard and be resilient and go the extra mile and be a good person.
I agree 100%. Don't let anyone ever tell you you can't do something.
Totally.
Mind over matter. I see it all around me here at work. when you come to San Diego, this is your first stop I'm taking you, because my mother owns this center. It's a
Oh,
holistic and integrative health center. You want to talk about powerful business women. Her and her
wow.
business partner also have a nonprofit called Miraglow Foundation, where they fund educational and health systems throughout the world. And they do a lot of amazing work. My mother is the reason why I am the man I am today. My father taught me music. My mother taught me entrepreneurship and drive and ambition. Always gave me journals and said, your gift is writing, keep writing. You know, still to this day, she doesn't want a physical gift. She'd rather me write her a poem, as cheesy as that sounds.
It's
but
not cheesy, it's awesome.
But because you can't recreate that gift, you know,
Yep.
And, you know, I love writing. Like, I've tried playing so many different instruments, and singing and writing is just like, that's what I resonate with the most. Like the electrical feeling I have when I'm on stage, and when I can, you know, just touch a crowd, like not physically, but like metaphysically, you know what I mean? You get it. You're a singer, you know. So let's talk a little bit about going back to your childhood a little bit, how you ended up moving out to the States. Let's go back there and then work our way up to Brick by Brick and where you're at now.
I played in a band in South Africa called Stealing Love Jones. And the band, I suppose it was kind of like an Avril Lavigne sounding thing, you know, and it did really well in South Africa. There was just a gap in the market for it. And we had a couple of #1 hits, and we got to tour with like Seether and One Republic and Fall Out Boy and Maroon 5 and a whole bunch of really dope bands. And I think that platform in South Africa, even though we were a very big fish in a very small pond, it just allowed me to kind of jump beyond, just give me an opportunity in the States. I think if I was born in the States, I don't know if I would have ever had the opportunities that I have now, because just getting that little bit of success in South Africa kind of gave people some kind of interest. You know, they're like, oh, cool, you've had a couple of #1s. Okay, cool, we'll give you a chance. You know, whereas I don't think that if I was born in the States, that I would have had the same opportunities. You know, maybe I would have just been a small fish in a big pond. So I feel very, very lucky that I was born in South Africa and took that journey and then jumped the pond and came to hang out in San Diego. And back when we met, I was playing like cover songs in bars like 5 nights a week. Insane.
I remember that. Yeah,
insane.
You were insane. But your drive and passion was just like mesmerizing to me, because I'm surrounded by all these, like, I want to be in a band, I want to be cool guys, and I'm just like so tired of it. And then all of a sudden, there's not a whole lot of like radical female artists that come out of San Diego. I mean, there's singer-songwriters, but everything's like musically segregated in San Diego, and even by the venues. And I sought to change all of that with Brick by Brick. It was a metal rock venue, and like that's why I got hated on, because I switched gears. I was like, we need a home for everybody. Granted, not every style of music is always going to work out here, but it doesn't hurt to try. And then you come in, open up for Delana, and I was just like, there's something there. There's something there. And then the next thing you know, you become like a regular and part of the Brick by Brick family. And then, you know, eventually, you know, like life, sometimes you lose touch with people, and we all go our separate paths. But you had a goal and you had a drive, and you're living that dream. You know, and the whole point of this show and everything I try to do when I go online is to inspire others and motivate others. And especially now with what I'm doing, I'm taking all the principles from being an entertainer into helping de-stress and just kind of help guide, you know, everybody that walks through my office door.
I love that.
You know, and I'm so proud of you, Esjay.
Oh, thank you, Sulo. That means so much to me, man. Thank you. Thank you.
That from the bottom of my heart, and I miss you so much. I can't wait to like actually give you a hug. It's been
me too, my dude. I honestly cannot wait to see you. I'm hoping to. I've just put a band together for We Are Pigs, and I'm hoping to, my plan is to do one of the very first shows of Brick by Brick, which I'm hoping that you will help me out and connect those dots.
Oh, I won't just connect those dots. I will help you promote the whole entire night.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. I just feel like I feel very strongly about the first show being in San Diego for We Are Pigs, because it's kind of my birthplace of being an American. And I feel like there's so much San Diego and all the friends that I made really have set me up for success, you know, just being such champions, and everybody was so kind, you know, from Christy Beach who let me freaking live with her in her spare room, you know. It was just JC Jen that was just like took me under her wing, and just you know, all of these people were just such champions and championing me, and it's all of you guys. It's really cool, and then to get to a place now where I'm working with like Dave Navarro and Billy Corgan, and it's really mind-blowing, you know, that these guys would even give me the time of day, this little kid from South Africa. But you guys saw it, and you got behind me, and you pushed me, and I can't wait to come back and blow some minds with this We Are Pigs project.
Right.
I really
I love We Are Pigs. I'm a big Trent Reznor fan, and that's the first thing that came to mind. I was like, wow, this is like Nine Inch Nails meets like Ministry meets this meets that. Came in a DM. It's got so many radical elements. It reminds me of like what I was attempting to do. I had this industrial project that was my very first attempt at doing a solo project, because I was at that point in my career, I was like so done being in a band. I was like, I don't want this stress anymore. I just want to record music as a studio musician and take all my friends that are amazing musicians and do that. It was a project called Cryostasis. So it's still on MySpace. That's the only way I can really find the music.
Oh,
cool. How rad is that? Anyways, but let's talk about what propelled you to leave San Diego in the first place.
You know, I think I always wanted to be honest, like I didn't realize that artists didn't write their own songs, you know. So when I came across somebody that saw me play and was like, hey, have you ever considered being a songwriter? I was kind of like, how rude. I am a songwriter, you know. And they were like, no, I like be a songwriter for pop artists or bands or whatever. And I was like, what are you talking about? You like, do artists not write their own songs? And they're like, nope. You know, there's a whole job opportunity and a position for a songwriter. So San Diego kind of, my next step was moving to LA, kind of in pursuit of being a songwriter, which I then got signed to a publishing deal off of people seeing me in sessions and just kind of my songwriting ability, which was amazing. And so that was kind of my first step in being able to kind of set myself up to live in LA. And then from there, I was sort of ushered into the whole world of pop music production, which has been an incredible education. You know, I've sat in the room with Alex the Kid and J.R. Rotem and these huge producers, and I've learned so much that I would never have been able to learn in a school, you know. So this life lesson that I've learned from producers and engineers has really been amazing. And then I guess I just kind of I felt a little, after sort of 8 years of being in the LA, or 6 years of being in the LA pop music scene, I felt like my soul was a little destroyed. You know, the pop music scene is just a factory. And it's like, you've got a great producer and a great songwriter, and you have to knock out a hit in 6 hours, you know? So it's just, and you train, it's like a muscle. Songwriting is just like being a professional athlete, you know? It's like you train this muscle, and you can train yourself to write great songs every day, but are they great, or are they just in the formula that radio requires them to be in? you know.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, well, a lot of it's cookie cut. So I hate to kill the dream for all the listeners, but a lot of musicians don't know how to write their own songs. They just
totally,
don't.
man.
That's just how the
Totally.
business is. That's where people like SJ or even myself come into play. And speaking of that, we never got to write our song together. I just
I know,
remember that.
we got it.
Remember, like I always had this idea, like to collaborate with a female vocalist. And that vocalist originally was Paulette Valenzuela, this band Abuse. You probably heard she was murdered in 2004.
Whoa.
Okay, maybe you didn't. That's a whole, she's a legend in San Diego. That was a long time ago.
Wow,
She's the only
long
person
time
I've ever met that lived up to the phrase, I will take a bullet for you. And she did, defending her friends in her home at a house party she had.
Wow.
Anyways, I had approached her about a song I wrote about one of my high school friends that had passed away a couple years before she did. And I was like, I tried recording it. I tried having other male vocalists sing it. I tried doing so many different renditions of it. But subconsciously, I'm hearing this haunting female voice in my head. And it's you. And then she passed away. She agreed to do it. And then she passed away shortly after. We never got a chance to do it. And I was, very rarely do I come across like female vocalists. And unfortunately, I don't have that song lyrics anymore. They're buried somewhere.
Wow.
But it does, that idea was spawned off from that. And eventually, I would just love to collaborate with you, Esjay. I just love everything about you, your spirit, you like your drive, your ambition, your musicianship, and just the way you operate and work. I've seen what you just did with Shane Zelm, who's another San Diego musician. And you brought him out of, to wipe the dust off of Shane. Shane hadn't done anything musically in a long time. So when I started seeing him post about that, I was like, wait, what? And that's amazing that you can inspire someone to want to play music again. You know what I mean? And that's a rare and special gift and ability to be born with,
Thank you.
Of course.
At some point in our near future, it'll happen. It'll definitely happen. You and I have a destiny, my friend.
Why we're sitting here today. So let's continue more about we left off when you were in LA, and let's kind of take it from there.
Yeah. So basically just in LA doing the producer songwriter thing, kind of got burnt out just because of how you said cookie cutter. It was just like a factory, 2 sessions a day, different producers, writing 2 songs a day, like 1,000 songs a year, and one of those songs a year get placed. It was just like, just insane, just a lot,
Right.
And so I moved out to the desert and did just kind of wanted to step back a little bit, got more into like the film and TV side of stuff, which was cool, as well as like a bunch of like side DJing stuff to pay the bills. And then I found a new management company that was more on the rock and metal side about 3 years ago now, and approached them and said like, hey, I'm looking for new representation. I want to get back into the rock and metal game. That's where my heart is.
Roots.
That's where my roots are. And so that's been cool. So I've been working with a lot of rock and metal artists, which has been really dope. And then during the pandemic, I started my We Are Pigs project. Well, launched it because technically I started writing the We Are Pigs project in 2018, but launched it at the beginning of the pandemic in May of 2020. When did the world go into lockdown? Was it last 2020?
Last year, beginning of 2020. It was like we started feeling it and hearing about it in February, and then it officially was shut down right before St. Patrick's Day.
Got it. Oh yeah, I remember that. And so I released the first song, which was a cover of Slipknot's Duality. I did that with Terry Corso from Alien Ant Farm, And we just kind of started, I just started releasing singles like every 8 to 10 weeks. And the project's really taken off. I'm pretty much focusing 100% on We Are Pigs now. We've just signed to a label and gonna be touring next year. So that's that. I pretty much see like a 2-year touring plan, you know, just get in, hit it hard, go and get my fill of playing live, like you said, touching the crowd metaphysically, and then getting back to production. Like I would love to, my dream is to produce and co-write Alanis Morissette's next record, you know, like that would be the greatest gift in life, you know, even though it's like not too rocky or metally, you know. I just, these are kind of the goals I've set for myself, and put these postulates into the universe that I'm like, this is what I want, and I don't think it's too small, and it's out there, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
How did you get involved with Grey Daze?
I was having a meeting at NRG Recording, which is the studio in LA that pretty much every single major band from the early 2000s did their records. Like the Linkin Park records were done there, Hoobastank's record was done there, the No Doubt albums were done there, like Disturbed, Green Day. And I was having a meeting at NRG with my now management, and the Grey Daze guys were sitting in the lounge, and we were just chatting, and I was like, oh, I just produced the new Alien Ant Farm record, and they were like, oh my gosh, we're such huge Alien Ant Farm fans, can we hear it? And so I played them some of the stuff, and they were like, oh man, will you try, are you interested in producing some stuff for us? So I did a couple of tracks, like test tracks to see if they liked it, and they did. And I produced 5 songs on the first record, and then they hired me for this next record to produce the whole thing myself with the band. So that was awesome. And we spent pretty much the whole of the pandemic last year writing the record, because I don't know if most people probably don't know, but the vocals from how we produced this record is that we took the vocals from the demos which Chester had done between 1994 and 1997. So between he was 17 to 21, and we basically took his vocals. I took his vocals out of the Pro Tools sessions, and I reproduced the music around the vocal. So some of the songs I sped up, some of them I changed the key, some of them I slowed down, you know. So that's basically how we reimagined these new records. It's old vocals done in a current way, which was really cool to do with the band.
Wow, that's really cool and so like innovative.
Yeah, it was the craziest like mind fuck, honestly, sitting with Chester. Like a 17-year-old Chester before Linkin Park, you know. I honestly think he was like, that's the best I've ever heard him is on these records. It's like just this voice of just unbridled rage or youthfulness, or just before all the fame and all the jaded bullshit, you know, that comes with it.
Yeah.
So the first single comes out in January of next year. I cannot wait for you guys to hear it.
I can't wait to hear it.
The whole album is just the first album was cool, but it had a mishmash of producers on it, so it kind of feels a little disconnected. And this record feels like a 90s rock band record. It's sonically beautiful. The guitars are heavy as all hell. Like the drums are just like freaking trashy and big. The bass is just cutting through. Chester's voice is just soaring on top. It's really cool. It's been a privilege to work on that record.
It sounds like it. How many tracks are going to be on this record?
10 songs on that album, and we did some cool collaborations, like Richard Patrick from Filter. We had him sing with Chester on one of the songs, which was amazing. Dave Navarro's on one of the tracks. Yeah, it was a really special record to be a part of.
Any music videos gonna spawn out of this? You know, kind of like how they did it with Static X when they did the whole,
yeah,
tribute tour or whatever you want to call it.
Right. I presume they will, and they should. So I'm not privy to that information just yet, but I will share the hell out of it when it all happens.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's see. Anything else you want to discuss, Esjay?
Nope. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for everybody to check out the We Are Pigs project, and to do our very first show at Brick by Brick in 2022. It's gonna happen.
Yes. And we'll plan that out. We'll discuss all of that. So now comes to the portion of my show where I love to have my guest. If they have a catchphrase or some kind of positive affirmation, give that to our listeners.
I have two things that I live by. One is that never be afraid to ask, because you have 100% 50-50 chance of somebody saying yes. And the other one is don't be in a hurry to fail.
Very wise words from a very wise woman. Yeah. Esjay, you're an inspiration. I absolutely love everything about you. Like I said, I can't wait to give you that big giant hug that's way overdue. And we have so much catching up to do. And I can't wait for everyone to watch this interview. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Me too. I love you to bits, man. It's been too long, and I cannot wait to see you face to face in real human life.
Not this virtual reality.
I know, this fake life in which we are hovering around right now.
The metaverse. I feel like I'm in Ready Player One.
Yep. True story. True story. Well, thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate you, and we will catch up really soon.
Definitely. And that wraps up another episode of The King's Couch. I'm your host, Sulo King. Stay radical.
Yeah, buddy.
That was awesome.